but I am tired of the same people, of the same things. I want to escape now to another place now, but with you, 'cause I don't want to be alone. Tell me if you want to follow me now, to follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy. Tell me if you want to follow me now, to follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a race to show off.
Gregory now, I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GitGudRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers, from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts, who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together.
Hello everybody, welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to round 10 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm delighted to be back commentating on this wonderful championship once again. Now, as a lot of you will know, unfortunately, as of the evening of this race, or live at the time, Ed and I weren't able to be there to commentate on this race. There were factors outside of our control that meant we couldn't do a live broadcast. Unfortunately, it's just me here today. Ed and I couldn't figure out a time to make this work together, so I'll be solo broadcasting this one as live as if it was done on the night. So hopefully you still enjoy the racing and hopefully you still all get the coverage that you deserve. But we're here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit for round 10. We've been away from the championship for a couple of rounds now with some night races that have been going on at the Daytona road course, where the series had its 2-hour race there, and then a 1-hour race at Spa Francorchamps. So that, as you can imagine, has made some differences to the championship, and this is how it looks coming here to the Nurburgring. It's Troy Dolinschek that is currently fastest and obviously top of the elite class from his teammate Luke Lucchese, with Ryan Ottens and John Breitenbach in 4th place. Luke King holding on to 5th position. He's ahead of Tristan Dinobrega, Christopher Radloff, Joe Glass, Gianni Terhar and Matt Hoyland, who completes the top 10 in those standings. When it comes to the Premier class, it's Joe Shapara that is currently top there, 2nd place last time out, and the win going to Ati Nagel in 5th place in the championship. But between them, we have Stephen Donnelly for JSD Racing Team, the Glasstech and DXT car of Matthew Jones, Marcel Breitenbach in the Audi in there as well, with Robin Aston in 6th place, Rob Mackay, who I must give a big shout out to. Rob has provided the replay file for this as live broadcast once again, so thank you very much to Rob. Hussein Saraka Desler in 8th position ahead of Russell Jakes, and Wesley Van Rens next up in the Ford Mustang. Next up in the championship, we have the Evo class standings, and it's Malo TA that is currently top of that pile, with Dennis Koller next up behind him. Quite a gap between the two of them at this stage. Martin Kenyon in 3rd position at the minute. He's ahead of fellow Lamborghini driver Graham Matthew, with James Howarth in 5th, Archie Craven in 6th place, Owen Seward, Francois Brandet, Gareth Newton and Danny Weir complete the Evo class standings. Looking at the teams, it is RDSA that are currently top on 868 points. JSD Racing Team going well in 2nd position, nearly 160 points ahead of Alpha 1 Esports, who then have the Glasstech and DXT trio of Hoyland, Glass and Jones behind them. Barbecue Bread Racing are next up. Then looking at the rest of the teams, you can see it's very closely knit throughout the rest of the field. So many of them all close together on points, and considering that there's 3 cars in most of these teams as well, you know it can change very, very quickly in just one round of the championship. There is also, of course, the incident ratings. So this is basically for the safest driver in each class, and what we have here is the least amount of incident points between each of the drivers that we have on the circuit, and they're also separated into class. So Matthias Pentila currently top of the elite class ahead of John Breitenbach and Gianni Terhar. Robin Aston, the safest driver at the moment in the Premier class, with Matthew Jones and John Ludbrook up there with him. Malo TA not only leading the Evo class, but leading it in terms of cleanliness as well with the incident ratings here. Martin Kenyon second ahead of Dennis Collar in third. And it's great to see that throughout a number of these groups, the drivers that are often the cleanest are the ones that are winning races as well. So it does go to show, doesn't it, that survival is absolutely key. But what we're going to do now is get straight into the race, because qualifying, as per it being a replay file, is just the one car on circuit, and unfortunately we don't love Rob enough to give him all the airtime. We're only joking, Rob, but thank you once again for sending the replay file. This is how qualifying finished: 45 thousandths of a second between the top three, Luke Lucchese and Tristan Dinobrega and Ryan Ottens. Matthias Pentilo was next up in fourth ahead of Christopher Radloff and Luke King. John McLuhan in seventh ahead of John Breitenbach, with Tristan Engelstad and Joe Glass completing the top 10. Ian Cable lined up 11th, with Peter Black joining him on the 6th row. Following them was Gianni Terhar and Matt Hoyland, with Atti Nagel and Archie Craven. Marcel Breitenbach next up ahead of Martin Kenyon, with Stephen Donnelly and Hussein Saraka Desler completing the top 20. Bruno Silva 21st ahead of Jonathan Provost, with Rob Mackay and Joe Shapara making up the 12th row of the grid. Next up was Robin Aston and Nick Stubb, with Malo TA and Francois Brandet on the 14th row. James Bostock and John Ludbrook complete the top 30. Next up was Russell Jakes and Graham Matthew, with Ashley Brooks and Gareth Newton alongside each other on row 18. Then we have Danny Weir and Scott Kostrick on the next row. And then Chris Keenan and Sean Clark, with Matthew Jones and Jeffrey Darman. Next up, Dennis Collar and James Howarth on the 21st row, and Alex Boniface completing the field. So looking at everything then, we have no... What was the name? In terms of the Porsches, the RDSA cars anyway, no Troy Dolinschek at the front of the pack for this one. Troy, a regular in the series, but unfortunately missing a few rounds of last season. Seems to have the same going on this time round as well. A quick shout to the championship sponsors, by the way: Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs. Thank you very much to those guys for their amazing support of not just the series, but of course us here at Chaz Draycott Media as well, that do what we do. So as you can see, the field getting going, ready for this 10th round of the championship. It's going to be a very, very busy one here. A 1 hour long race with pit stops on the horizon as well. Lots for the drivers and teams to think about. And no second chances on a night like this, which is important as well. The drivers don't get a second race of the evening to try and recuperate for any issues that they have in the first run through. But as you see, we have a very packed field once again, and it's going to be Luke Lucchese that's going to lead the field away this time round. And he heads round the last corner now to get this race underway. And as the field speeds up, closes together, they get to the start-finish line. And it's a long old pause, actually, here at the Nurburgring. Most of the way down the straight already. And away goes Luke Lucchese. Tristan Dinobrega tries to go with him. And in great flying formation, Tristan's actually got a better start than him down the start-finish straight. Really good stuff from him. And around the outside into turn one he goes. He overtakes his teammate down into the hairpin for the first time. The very tight Mercedes Arena section always demands a lot of patience from drivers. We've got Robin Aston here in the middle of the field. You can see he's just got to be careful with all of this. The weight transfer and the way the cars move around each other. Very, very difficult to get right time and time again. Looks like Ashley Brooks is having a drama. We can catch him just about there on the Corvette on the inside of the circuit. Not sure if he had a bit of contact or a bit of drama in there, but certainly not going his way at the moment. First couple of corners out the way then. Matthias Pentele in fourth position, but the main change for the lead there, Tristan Dinobrega getting in front of his teammate Luke Lucchese straight off the start. It's amazing to see. I was just about to say some of the Evo drivers actually ahead of some of the Premier drivers. You can see Archie Craven and Martin Kenyon in the Evo class, both ahead of all the Premier drivers. So going really, really well at this circuit at the moment. There's been a drama for Malo TA and Chris Keenan. These two are around. Chris Keenan with big damage to the front of his Ferrari. That's going to be the end of his race. He's one of the championship sponsors as well, so he's not going to enjoy that one. In the middle of the field, we have the Alpha 1 Esports gang here. Luke King chasing after Christopher Radloff. Behind them as well, Jean McLuhan in this lovely privateer livery that he's got on the car. Certainly looks amazing. Garage Collective written underneath the rear wing. He's got Jean Brayton back, and then Joe Glass for company. Joe's got Peter Black back in the big old Mustang. I know that Ed May is a huge fan of this car, and he will love to see it back out on the circuit once more. This is Archie Craven in the awesome sounding Audi R8. We'll go on board with him, and you can see the battle in front actually. Matt Hoyland down the inside of Peter Black. Takes a tighter line though around that last corner. Doesn't quite get it done this time round. Need to look back a little bit though, only a few places to Hussein Sarakadesla, who currently leads in the Premier Division. Jonathan Provost next up behind him. Great to see him back on our screens again. He's in the undercover sim racing Porsche. There's nothing too stealthy about it at this point. Nothing stealthy about that as Marcel Breitenbach sends one up the inside of his countryman Atti Nagel. Atti holding that inside line. Can Marcel get all the way around? Oh, no, he can't. Big contact to the two of them into the barriers. Wow, that was a big old hit. I think he lost the back end or something there, did Marcel, but Atti got smacked in the right rear there. And you know what? I'm really glad I caught that. With these as live broadcasts, we don't get replays, and that was just chance that I happened to be looking at those guys at the time. Beautiful stuff. But unfortunate for both of them involved in such a big hit like that. You've got to wonder what the car's going to be like damage-wise. Archie Craven just in front of Ian Cable's Ferrari. Still leads in the Evo class. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen there, that class has actually moved ahead now of the Premier Division on the screen. Great battle going on behind, though, with Sarakadesla holding on ahead of Kenyon Provost, and then Gianni Terhar not having a fantastic start so far. 5 places lost for him since the start of the race. And it's been a great start for Dennis Koller. He's gained 10 positions so far. Alex Boniface is also going well. He's gained 8 places in his Porsche, the gorgeous DXT Magenta car. But Malotier and Chris Keenan both sat in the pits at the moment, out of this race in the opening stages. So it's Tristan Dinabrega, Luke Lucchese, Ryan Ottens, Matthias Pentela and Christopher Radloff, the top 5 in the elite class. Then it's Archie Craven, Martin Kenyon, Francois Brandet, Graham Matthew and Gareth Newton completing the top 5 in Evo, and then it's Hussein Sarakadesla, Jonathan Provost, Joe Shapara, Nick Stubb and Rob Mackay in the Premier Division. Let's not forget as well, Joe Shapara leading the championship in Premier, so he wants to try and hold on to what honours he can. His teammate Stephen Donnelly is currently 6th at the minute. Battle going on here with Bruno Hi-Ho Silva and James Bostock, actually the man that came up with the nickname, just in front of him, as I look down the inside there from Francois Brandet. Oh, Bruno just about clipping the back of his fellow Porsche driver. A very tidy opening couple of laps actually by all of our drivers. They've done really well here. There was a little bit of a knock here and there, but considering how many cars we've got out there on the circuit tonight, all 43 of them doing a very good job. Here's your race leader though, Tristan Dinabrega, looking back at Luke Lucchese in 2nd position. They've got Ryan Ottens in 3rd place. Ryan, one of the drivers that Ed and I have commented on before, being one of the sort of primary drivers to really take it to the RDSA esports team. They head up through the Michael Schumacher S's once more towards the next set of chicanes. The Ferrari looking menacing in the background of Matthias Pentela, but you can see the Porsche dominating the elite class and the Premier class tonight, with the Lamborghini leading the way in Hussein Sarakadesla. Matthias the only Ferrari, well, I was going to say in the top 10, but the only non-Porsche in the top 10 anyway. Matt Hoyland in the Lamborghini is up there. He's got Peter Black behind him, and then Mercedes of Tristan Engelstad. So it seems like all the non-Porsches are sort of lingering just on the outer fringes of the top 10. Peter Black guiding this Mustang around. It's amazing to see that, considering this is a new car to iRacing, oh dearie me, that it's not the one that's sort of been used the most. We've had on board now, and just listen to this thunderstorm of a car. What a delightful noise. All the way down into turn 1 with another good sounding V8 just behind him as well. That's Tristan Engelstad. Clearly we haven't got a camera sorted for that car just yet. But Tristan, well, it doesn't look like that cooling fan's doing much, does it, in the grill? Certainly not keeping the car any form of cool at the moment, unless he doesn't need it. Tristan has been a sort of advocate for the Mercedes for a few seasons now, and he continues to try and make it work. A battle in the midfield here in Premier, which is Rob Mackay chasing down Nick Stubb. Two Porsches right with each other. Another fantastic sounding race car. Humongous amount of transmission whine or gearbox whine, depending on which side of the pond you're from. You can see Rob having to float the car around the corner there just to keep it smooth, keep it tidy. And into the hairpin he goes, hard on the brakes. Please no Punterino, it says on the back of Nick Stubbs' car. Certainly isn't any of that going on. Stephen Donnelly there, second in the Premier Championship at the moment, trying his best to stick with these guys just in front. But hats off to Archie Craven in this Audi. Archie has been a real revelation to this championship. It's great to see him going so well in this car. Had a bit of a tough start at the very beginning of the season, but it's got better and better since then for the GHR K1 Esports entry. Ian Cable just behind him is in the Elite class. And then this is your Premier class leader, Hussein Saraka Deslet. He's currently having a look at Gianni Terhar in the Porsche. As Martin Kenyon went a little bit hot into there. He's lost a little bit of ground to Jonathan Provost, who also loses ground to Joe Shapara. Now, Martin is in the Evo class, so the two Premier drivers may not appreciate Martin getting in the way, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have to move out of the way here. He's not obliged to move. We have seen drivers move over before sometimes and just make life easy for the classes above them at least. It doesn't seem like Martin is low enough on pace to do that at the moment. He's really going well, is Martin. So he's thinking, look, if you're going to get past me, boys, you need to do it on merit. It's close for the lead, by the way. Tristan Dino Brega only a couple of tenths of a second ahead of Lucchese, ahead of Ottens, ahead of Pentila. This is the top four altogether here. We ride on board with the Ferrari, and there is not really much between these guys. There's a second and a half back from here to Christopher Radloff, as you can see. But this lead battle is very much still on right now. And Matthias, well, the only one that isn't a Porsche, in with a chance of ruining the Porsche party. Whoa, that was very, very lively, that by Ryan Ottens. Loses the back end of the car, gets a slowdown penalty as a result. And he now drops down a position. So we've got the three Alpha 1 Esports Porsches chasing Matthias Pentila, but he moves into a podium position. He'll be over the moon with that one. As we head back to this battle again, Joe Shapara now trying to get past Jonathan Provost, round the outside into the chicane, late as he dares on the brakes, keeps some decent pace around the outside and through he goes. Lovely job by Joe Shapara, and he leads the Premier Class Championship, and that shows you why. Great commitment. Jonathan Provost says, not on your life though, I want to come back at this. They're going down towards the chicane, which is known as the Blancpain Endurance Series chicane. It's the faster of the two. I was actually at the Nurburgring 2 weeks ago using the slower of the chicanes for the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And you can imagine how clumsy racing trucks are around there. Very entertaining though all the same. Here's Francois Brandet, DXT Magenta driver, with a great battle going on in front of him. That is Bostock, Donnelly and Ludbrook. Ludbrook leading these lot in the Ludcrook Racing Gulf coloured Porsche 992. The field very close all over the circuit at the moment. Not really spreading out at any point soon. Don't forget they've got a couple of pit stops to think about over the course of the race, as there's been a drama, and around goes Tristan Engelstad. Tristan facing the wrong way, loses a bunch of positions, rejoins just in front of Hussein Saraka Deslet. And it's not really much of a pace difference. That's going to cost Hussein a little bit of time. And with him being the class leader, he won't enjoy that. He's also got Kenyon right behind him. I think Kenyon got close to touching the back of the other Lamborghini there. Now Joe Shapara is offline as well. There's a big domino effect of all these guys affecting each other here. That was certainly not easy at all, was it? Now at the very front, the RDSA cars have broken away from the RD Sim Sport car of Matthias Pentila. They've got about a second on him, so by breaking away, I mean they've edged slightly further away from their closest competitor, but Tristan Dino Brega, after taking the lead at the very start of the race, holds on to it right now. He and Luke were separated by absolutely nothing in qualifying though, 15 thousandths of a second between the pair. So I was going to say whether Luke is the one with the ultimate pace or not is yet to be seen. Don't think there's any team orders at RDS8. They do fight each other when they get chance. It's great to see them having another 1-2 here without Troy Dolinschek at the moment as well. Troy, the championship leader, but once more missing a round of the championship after some success and another missed round at one of the endurance races. I need to go back to this because Martin Kenyon is heading into the pit lane in his Lamborghini. Now, is this a drive-through penalty for the incident limit? Because it looked like Martin was close to a few drivers in there. There you can see Rob Mackay's pitman, who we're going to drive straight past. No, Martin is coming into the pit lane to have some sort of stop. You can see him just down the far end there. It's not the best camera for that, I do apologise. But Martin probably just getting out of the battles because he was around these guys, Jonathan Provost and Nick Stubb. He's just trying to get out of all the battles that are going on and save himself from losing time in the long run. He's just going to get in, get the pit stop, or the first of the pit stops done ASAP, and go from there. This is Matthew Jones also heading into the pit lane. Apologies for that camera, by the way. The bridge really badly spawns in and out, doesn't it? Matthew Jones comes to a stop right at the end of the pit lane, actually, up on the jacks for the tyres. The car rotates slightly as, ooh, Alex Boniface is in the wall. One of the DXT cars. That is on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena, that is. So he must have hit the AstroTurf or the curb or something. And he spun it onto the inside wall there, which is easily done. We go back to the front, though, because there's nothing between the lead pair. This is Tristan de Nobrega still holding on ahead of Luke Lucchese, his teammate. Looks like Luke wants to make a move. But they need to be careful of battling here because Matthias Penteler is not far behind whatsoever. You can see Tristan with the green highlights on the car, on the windscreen banner, and pink for Luke Lucchese. Is Luke going to make a move down the inside into turn one? No. Brakes a little bit earlier than his teammate. I think they're just trying to work together at this stage to make sure that Matthias Penteler doesn't get the better of them. You can see through here just how clumsy a GT3 car is through the Mercedes-Benz Arena. You can really hear the friction and the engine braking of that gearbox whine. But these two still stuck right together. In the middle as well we have Jean Breitenbach for Barbecue Bread Racing. He's right behind Joe Glass in his Porsche. Joe, of course, broadcasting the Evolution Sim Racing TCR Championship on the Evolution Sim Racing YouTube channel. Solo broadcasting, as I am doing this evening. And as I always say and remind people, it is not an easy thing to do, and Joe does a fine job of it, considering he's still new to the art form as well. Does a mighty fine job of it. He's not a bad peddler either, by the look of it. Holding on ahead of Jean Breitenbach at this present moment. A battle here in the elite class as well is Tristan Engelstad's beefy Mercedes chasing down the horrendous-looking Ferrari 296. Ed May not here tonight to defend the looks of that, nor the BMW. Up through the Schumacher crest as they go. It does feel like you are strapped to the back of an atomic bomb when you're in this Mercedes, because that engine up front is a real monster. Sounds like pure fury under the bonnet that's only just sound deadened. Quarter of the way through the race now, though. 45 minutes left to go, and only a couple of pit stops. And I don't think anybody in any... Actually, no, Martin Kenyon is 10th in class at the moment, and he has pitted. I was going to say, nobody inside the top 10s usually show on the graphics on the left-hand side, but Martin is the only one in top 10 in any class that has been into the pit lane. It's Archie Craven still leading in the Evo class. He's 13th outright as well. We'll show you the overall standings on the left. You can see Craven in the Audi in 13th spot. Sarika Desler, the highest placed Premier class driver, in 16th. Then Joe Spara, Nick Stubb, and it's all of the Premier drivers almost down towards the Evo class. There's a big gap actually as Ati Nagel comes into the pits now. He's the next one to head down to the very, very slow pit lane, 60 kilometers an hour down here. Long old pit lane at the Nurburgring as well, very wide one. He's chosen to go into the sort of pit boxes very, very early on. He now goes up onto the jacks to take tyres. Alpha 1 Esports well represented in the middle of the field here is, a drama for somebody there. James Bostock just had a bit of a moment and lost a place. Just showed that he was off the circuit. But I was going to say that we had the Alpha 1 Esports trio of Ryan Ottens, Christopher Radloff and Luke King all glued to each other. And by glued to each other, I meant they're clearly nowhere near one another. Joe Glass and John Breitenbach are certainly glued together though. Joe trying to hold on to whatever advantage he can before the first pit stop. Be interesting to see who takes tyres in tonight's race and who doesn't. Some of them will definitely not want to take new rubber, and others will know that it's very, very prominent, the difference from being on shattered tyres to being on brand new rubber. Gives you a lot more confidence in the car as well at the end of the day. There's quite an interesting pit entry as well here at the Nurburgring, especially if you're doing the faster of the chicanes. You have to be very careful on the exit of that corner. Tristan Dinabrega very much under pressure from his teammate Luke Lucchese right now. I'm surprised he hasn't just let him on by. But still, they make their way out of the Mercedes-Benz Arena once more. Still with first and second on the cards, but Matthias Penteler in the beautiful RD SimSport Ferrari, really rocking the red, is not out of the picture here. The guys ahead are not out of the woods whatsoever. Excuse me, Bridge. That's awful, isn't it, that camera? I do apologise, everyone. John Breitenbach still trying to find a way past Joe Glass, but cannot get it done at this point. Maybe just following him and trying to save a little bit of fuel maybe for the first of the pit stops. It's not really a circuit where you can save a massive amount of fuel. There are a few sections where it's quite heavy braking and you can hold on as... Dennis Collar has had an issue. You'd have thought this livery would go very, very well around here. The Black Falcon livery, synonymous with the Nürburgring. But Dennis having an issue there on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena, ended up on the inside of the circuit. This is Ian Cable. Archie Craven just in front of him. Tristan Engelstad just behind in the Mercedes. Three cars that aren't Porsches. It's lovely to see them together. The Audi, the Ferrari and the Mercedes. Dearie me, that's Archie having a big old moment. The back end steps out on him there. That's a real factor in the Audi, is that the mid-engined instability of that car is so exaggerated compared to the others. It can be a real oversteery pig, as Tristan Engelstad says, thank you very much, mate, down the inside. And then floats it through the exit. Ian Cable has to compromise his run through the chicane, and all of a sudden Archie Craven back in the mix. But Archie, well, he won't really want to fight this one too hard, because at the end of the day, he's leading his class by some 19 seconds over this man here, Graham Matthew. Two Lamborghinis, second and third. Got the two Corvettes as well of Ashley Brooks and Sean Clark, 6th and 7th in their class. This is Ashley Brooks, the DXT Cyan car. One of the championship sponsors is Ashley, AB Designs. And here is Sean Clark's machine with the Clark and James branding on it. It's great to see the Corvettes and Mustangs still being represented, but like I said earlier, with it being the newer car in GT3, I'm surprised it's not more prominent and not more dominant, to be honest. Another quick shout out to championship sponsors Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs. And of course everybody at Evolution Sim Racing that puts on such a great show and supports me and Ed and what we do here at Chaz Draycott Media. We always enjoy broadcasting this series. It's always full of excitement. Although I don't think it would be unfair to say this is one of the more tame races that we've had so far. Seems like everybody's in a bit of a chilled out state for this one. They know that in the opening stages you don't need to risk too much and throw the car at the scenery or at each other. But it's Tristan Dinabrega still leading the way from Luke Lucchese and Matthias Penteler. First, second and third. Archie Craven leading in the Evo class brilliantly ahead of all of the Premier class drivers. Graham Matthew and Gareth Newton fighting over second place. And then Hussein Sarakadesla in the Lamborghini holding on to the Premier class lead right now ahead of current championship leader Joe Shapara. in the Haribo Gold Bears livery. Jonathan Provost holding on for third. Rob Mackay, then Robin Aston, completing the top 5. A few more pit stops have been completed, but as you can see on the left-hand side, it doesn't really look like it because of the ground they've lost. There's been, I think, 6 or 7 pit stops completed so far, and here is another one that's about to get done, which is Nick Stubb. He comes in the Glasstec Academy Porsche. Makes his way down the very long pit lane here. It's almost like there's 2 or 3 entrances to this place. We need to go back up though and see how Joe Glass is still holding on in front of Jean Breitenbach. The almost dazzle camo Porsche filling his mirrors, and Peter Black is actually now on the scene once more in the Mustang. It's like being chased by a absolute cruise ship. A dark green cruise ship at that. Peter's been wrangling this car around really well. Unfortunately, he was sidelined in the first race due to an injury that cramped up. But he's been back with us since then and working hard on getting the most out of this Mustang, because it's not an easy car to drive at all. But he certainly shows us that you can get some good pace and capability out of it to be at the level of the elite drivers. I think the Porsche, the most rewarding for all the drivers, and it's the one that you can really throw about more. The Porsche always seems to give plenty back and be a very stable platform, considering that it's a rear-engined car. It is a very, very stable platform indeed. Chris Keenan has unfortunately been out on the circuit and then back into the pits. He's had a drama, and his race, by the look of it, is completely done. Here's a battle a bit further down. This is for 36th and 37th outright between Francois Brandet and Ati Nagel. As, I think Francois maybe with a slowdown penalty or something there. Martin Kenyon's just had a little bit of an off as well, but he's rejoined the circuit. 10th in his class right now, 33rd overall, but one of the only drivers in class to have pitted. And that's going to be important later on when the pit stops start to sync back up. But Tristan Dinabrega holding on to this lead right now. Luke Lucchese, I would say putting him under pressure, but I think knowing that they're teammates, they sort of know that they're working together in these opening stages. Here's Ian Cable, still in the middle with Tristan Engelstad and Archie Craven. Another one of the Ferraris right in the thick of the action. "25 minutes gone though, and it's Tristan Dinabrega still leading, Archie Craven leading Evo, and then Hussein Sarakadesla next up. I'd imagine that tyres are needed in pit stops around this circuit because it's a rather intensive one, to say the least. There's a lot of fast corners, a lot of long sweeping corners as well, much like this sort of chicane section they're coming up to right now. You really rely on the fronts to behave themselves because you're trying to get the car to do so much all at once. It's difficult not to overdo it. As Jonathan Provost is off the road. Now, if he's not hit a wall there, he's done mighty well, because the car has a lot of damage on the front end. It's very easy to lose the back end of the car up over that hill and clout the wall on either the inside or the outside, whether you oversave it or not. But that looks to me like a very badly damaged Porsche, and hopefully Jonathan is able to at least get it back to the pits. He's within the pit window, so he could at least get it back to the pits and get it fixed. Joe Glass has lost the position to John Breitenbach. Peter Black now, the next one to put him under pressure in the Mustang. Is there anything that he can do? Wondering whether there's anything that he can do to then chase down John Breitenbach as well, because it seemed like he could match his pace, but is that down to Joe being between them? Have to see. Still, it's close at the front though. Tristan Dinabrega just doing everything to hold on to this lead. He's not necessarily having to defend or fight too hard against Luke Lucchese. Like I say, Luke is not necessarily putting him under pressure, he's just there. But Matthias Pentila and Ryan Ottens both very much in the mix as well. These guys have not gone anywhere. They're not letting this one slide. There's more cars coming into the pit lane now. Got a good bunch of the Evo drivers pitting. Gareth Newton and Ashley Brooks are the latest two to head in. Still really cool to see one of the Evo drivers out there in the Premier class right now. As we carry on riding on board with Ryan Ottens to just give you an idea of just how fast this final sector is. There's, Matthias Pentila into the pit lane he goes. Now, is that going to be an unsafe pit entry? Because he was quite far over the line. But I imagine a lot of drivers have done that and you've been okay with it because it is the faster chicane. So I'm hoping that the sim, for Matthias' sake, is a little bit more lenient, let's say. Ferrari heads down pit lane then. Joe Glass also in. He's come in the Porsche. Doesn't seem like everybody wants to pit at this early stage. I'd imagine that everyone's going to pit. I say early stage as if we're not almost halfway through the race. I think everybody's going to have the chance to single stop this. Some of the other guys maybe just wanting to get out of battles and get track position over running the car on fumes. But it makes you wonder whether they will make it to the end or not. Usually we do expect 2 pit stops in a race like this. But right now, some of them are looking like a 1 stop is a possibility. That can often come down to testing midweek or in the time between rounds. Drivers will do a fuel run, as we say. Just drive the car flat out at race pace and see how long a tank will last and figure out whether they can do the amount of fuel saving necessary to make it 1 pit stop less during the race. It seems like a few people know that it's going to be possible to do the 1 stop here. 31.5 minutes left. Now if these guys pit now, it's very likely that they will emerge from the pit lane with less than half the race to go, but no, they carry on for another lap. So this says to me that it is definitely a 1 stopper this time round, unless the 2 stops are made mandatory and the drivers have to do them anyway and they just haven't worried about people doing any sort of undercut on them. Yeah, it just says 60-minute duration, pit stop in bracket S required. So it's a mandatory pit stop during the half-hour races. But here I think it's just down to whatever the fuel is set to. So these guys now just making the most of whatever they can. We're about to be at the halfway point of the race, and Tristan Dinabrega still leads Luke Lucchese and Ryan Ottens. There's a big pit party going on. There's about 6 or 7 cars in the pit lane right now. That's Luke King on his way back out. His 2 teammates in the Alpha 1 Esports camp have carried on, Ryan Ottens and Christopher Radloff. Car 38 just about to make its way out of the pits there as well. Car 38 is Alex Boniface. Archie Craven in the pits too. He's just gotten moving now in the Audi. You can see the indicators blinking away. He's got Joe Shaparo, Hussein Saraka Desla, Dennis Koller behind. So a lot of cars in for their first and potentially only pit stop of the race. Now where is Archie Craven compared to his rivals? Martin Kenyon is back up into 2nd place now. He re-inherits a strong position in the Evo class. 3rd place in the championship at the moment as well. Here's Martin Kenyon. So he's certainly got a lot of honours in the championship to hold on to. Now this is not what Matthias Pentila wanted. It's also not what John Ludbrook would want either. He hasn't pitted yet. And all the leaders, and I think everybody now from the front of the pack, will be coming in. They know that they've made it to the half-hour distance. But down the inside and through goes Matthias Pentila without too much drama. The Ferrari now breaking away, but I don't think he's going to have anything to do with these guys. All of them go up on the jacks for tyres. What can they do? about... Oh, I was going to say Matthias Penteler, but Ian Cable has gone through, and he hasn't pitted this time round, so he's extending his stint a little bit longer. We'll go on board with Matthias Penteler as he heads down the start-finish straight. You can see the leaders coming out in front. The important one there is the Porsche of Ryan Ottens on his right-hand side. He goes round the outside, and Ryan has got it. Or has he? Penteler has to cut back down the inside. He's going to be on the outside for the next part of the Mercedes arena. Then tries to cut again, but no. Ottens holds it. And importantly as well, it's Tristan Dinabrega still ahead of Luke Lucchese that time. They slipstreamed the pit stops that well that Dinabrega holds on. Now can Ottens complete this race in front of Matthias Penteler? We've still got a long old time to find out. Still some drivers in the pits there having a good old pit party. Here's a battle with a couple of drivers we've not seen much of tonight. Gianni Terhar and Matt Hoyland on our screens. Matt really getting the squirt out of that corner there with the Lamborghini. Doing a fantastic job of it. It's not an easy car to drive, is the Lambo, with that sort of mid-engined instability that it shares with the Audi. The Lambo feels a bit heavier to drive though. It feels a bit more chunky and beefy. Like it's weighed down to the circuit a lot more. We look here at Nick Stubb trying to chase down Rob Mackay. Rob moving up into the Premier class for this season, after winning the Evo class previously. Down towards the hairpin they go. And there's a company, I should say, in the form of Stephen Donnelly just behind as well. Stephen not going anywhere anytime soon. And then the two Ludcrook Porsches in the background. I think Bruno Silva just lost a place there actually to Robin Aston. He was right behind his teammate John LeBrook. He's got Atti Nagel in there as well, and Ian Cable will be the final car to pit during this race. Onto the jacks he goes in the Ferrari 296 GT3. And he will be taking tyres and, yes, will be the last car to pit. So just showing you on the left-hand side, everybody's made one pit stop. And I think there's a lot of them that will, well, the majority of the field won't need to go again. I think that some of them just went early to get out of the traffic, so I don't think anybody will be pitting again. We'll have to see. Ian Cable heads out of the pit lane. He was around Tristan Engelstad before, but look at that. Tristan a good few car lengths in front of the Ferrari now. Ian gets it slowed down for the first corner. Through the Mercedes arena, that Ferrari, I don't know why, it just doesn't look comfortable, does it? Just thought he was going to break away a little bit there, but no. Manages to keep it all together. The top four still mighty close though. But it's Dinabrega, Lucchese, Ottens and Penteler. Christopher Radloff in 5th place, Luke King in 6th. Sean McLuhan having a bit of a quiet race so far. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of John Breitenbach. You can just see him in the background there. And these two lovely liveries on the circuit together, but at the same time not quite together, as John McLuhan heads through the left-hander once more. Stephen Donnelly still on the back of Nick Stubb. Got a bit more of a gap now to John Ludbrook behind him. But Stephen will want a little bit more out of this race, being second in the championship, especially as his teammate Joe Shapara now, after the pit stops, leads the way in class. He's ahead of Hussein Sarakadesla. I'm pretty sure that happened in the pit lane. It did by the look of it. So Sarakadesla, despite leading the Premier class in the early stages, hasn't been able to hold that. Archie Craven, though, has held his lead in the Evo category. Through the chicane he goes again. Great looking car, this Audi. Certainly looks nimble, doesn't it? It looks very stable, but it's really not. It's a car that has a very loose back end, steady. You have to really nurture it through corners. You can't lob this car about too much. I'll go on board for a second with Archie Craven. Just enjoy a moment or two of that 5.2 litre V10 engine, making one hell of a racket behind us. See a bit of understeer there though through the Mercedes arena. That corner's horrible because it goes over a crest. It sort of as it goes up the crest, the car comes to you and the grip is there as it's obviously compressing. Then as you go over the crest, it goes light. Then you've got to get on the power, and then the rear end goes light as well, and you start to lose the back end. It's not easy at all, that section of the track, especially in a car like the Audi that does want to kill you every single time you just look at it funny. Matt Hoyland trying to hold on here ahead of Gianni Terhar. Gianni has been higher up the order previously in this campaign this season. He's hoping now to gain a few more places. Looks very confident through the Michael Schumacher S. Moves to the right hand side of Hoyland. Hoyland puts the car in the middle of the road to defend, and a big send up the inside by Gianni Terhar. Goes deep into the corner but manages to have the inside line for the next bit. Hoyland round the outside though. What a move that is by Matt Hoyland. Fantastic work. Wow, that was brilliant racing between the two of them, but Hoyland, that was beautifully done. A great send down the inside by Gianni Terhar. Did really well to get the car stopped, but Hoyland had that thing in the right place at the right time there. That was excellent. He's now trying to stay with his teammate Joe Glass just in front, and if anything, he's buying Joe a little bit of time. We all know how fast Gianni is. Not guaranteeing, of course, that he's quicker than Matt and Joe, but yeah, he's really, really doing well. Down towards the hairpin they go, and Gianni again with the send down the inside. Gets to the apex, Hoyland gives him the room. Uses the momentum of the wider line to stay in front. Gianni tries to cut back once more. Graham Matthew has had an incident, unfortunately, in the Evo class. He's got going again, though, and there's been a change for position between Stephen Donnelly and Nick Stubb. These two, well, they're still side by side, actually, down towards the first corner. Donnelly on the inside, Stubb on the outside. Donnelly just gets the car stopped. It squirmed around a little bit on the brakes for him there. He's not completely got rid of the overlap into the left-hander. He's going to try and use that wider line, though, to carry the speed, and he's just going to spit back in front, is he? Stubb on the brakes, back down the inside, says not on your life. Have one of them. This way, then the other. Oh, kicks the rear end out a little bit there, does Donnelly. Stubb around the outside should hold on to this, and look behind him as well. John Ludbrook wants a bit of this too. He says, nah, go on then, boys, you carry on fighting. Oh, Donnelly has to just cut back onto the circuit. Ludbrook tries to get his nose down the inside. He's got Robin Aston about a second back from him as well, look. He's not far behind either. Then Ati Nagel in there too. Great fighting. Absolutely great fighting between all these guys. But clean and respectful stuff as well. Back out of the hairpin they go once more. Look at that, Nick Stubb with a decent bit of daylight now between himself and Stephen Donnelly. Donnelly having to defend ahead of Ludbrook. Just quickly glancing back at the lead though. These two RDSA cars still glued to each other, with Ryan Otton's very much in hot pursuit, or in hot pursuit. No, never mind. Leave that one at the bottom of the barrel, James. But Ryan putting in a great job here. Pentila not quite having the stint that he had earlier, but still going great guns. At fourth place. Still very much secured by the look of it. He's got a good few seconds over Radloff behind. And back to this, Gianni Terhar. Trying to get ahead of Matt Hoyland and not worry about the gigantic Mustang behind him of Peter Black. 20 minutes left to go here at the Nurburgring in round 10 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship here on Chaz Draycott Media. Hope you're all enjoying the show so far, everybody. Apologise this isn't live on the night, but do hope, of course, that you are enjoying the coverage still and watching your race back, whether you be one of the drivers or from one of the teams or just one of our usual spectators, one of our regulars. Thank you all of you that have watched this so far. Hope you're enjoying it, like I say. A big shout out once more to the championship sponsors. You can see Medius up there in the top right of your screen, but also to Kame, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud and AB Designs, and James Bostock and his team at Evolution Sim Racing for being so welcoming, so generous with everything to do with their championship, and of course patient with me doing the broadcast like this instead of live on the night due to forces outside of my control. Really do appreciate it, guys, and hope that we have done it justice at least. Top three still glued together now. It's definitely the phrase of the night, isn't it, that glued together? Because Ryan Ottens is stuck to the back of Luke Lucchese, who isn't making it look like he wants to get past Tristan de Nobrega, to be honest. Down in towards the hairpin. Tristan certainly not able to break away from these guys. It's not like the slipstream is completely paramount importance around this track, but it definitely holds the field together in certain places. Here's the field on the left-hand side of your screen overall. You can see Archie Craven, who we look at here, 15th outright, and ahead of all the Premier Class cars. It's very satisfying, though, that the top 14 are all of the Elite Class cars, with the white or transparent stripe next to their names. The orange stripe is the Evo Class, the yellow is the Premier Class. And all three classes providing great entertainment and battles throughout this whole race. A bit further down we've got Graham Matthew just in front of this man, James Howarth. Not had much of James on our screen this evening. I've raced with James in the Evolution Sim Racing TCR Championship as well. He's a good bloke, really gets amongst it. Always gets involved. But ahead of Robin Aston, we've got this fantastic train here of Ludbrook, the next car in front, then Stephen Donnelly ahead, and then Nick Stubb and Rob Mackay. The 5 Porsches all fighting over what will be 3rd place in class, so a podium finish for any of these guys. And it's Rob Mackay that is currently having to hold on ahead of Nick Stubb, and we've had a car off actually. Tristan Engelstad is off the road, and still off the road down at the hairpin. Tristan Engelstad off in the gravel. He's reversing to get the car out of the way. Then he's lighting it up. I think he's going to run alongside the edge of the circuit. Yeah, he's trying to run out as wide as he can to then come back on safely when he's up to speed. That's really good driving, that, by Tristan Engelstad. Very selfless stuff to make sure that he doesn't impede anybody during their race. That was lovely. Great to see that, as Gianni Tahar has now got past Matt Hoyland in the Lamborghini. Gianni has made it work. And now he can go chasing down Joe Glass in the next of the Porsches, the Glass Tech and DXT machine. Joe just holding on to a spot inside the top 10 at the moment, 9th overall. It's very Porsche dominated in the Elite Class at the moment, with the Ferrari of Matthias Pentila, the only one inside the top 10 that isn't a Porsche. Wow. And then in the Premier Class, it's led by a Porsche, but there's a Lamborghini in the mix in 2nd place with Hussein Sarakadesla, and then it's an Audi leading the way just up the road in the Evo Class. Kenyon and Newton flying the flag for Lamborghini, same with Graham Matthew, and then the 2 Corvettes, of course, of Ashley Brooks and Sean Clark in the thick of it. As whoa, Ashley has a bit of a moment there, does what we call a screenshot save, presses all of the buttons all at once, slams on all the pedals. I'm told that if you press the accelerator, the brake and the clutch in your car, it will take a screenshot. Not quite sure how accurate that is, but it's certainly the way to save the car here on iRacing. It's been proven before. As once again, Mackay and Stubb battling together. And Stubb goes through past Rob now into 3rd place in class. Stephen Donnelly, the next car on the list, but look at them all behind. So many of them all lined up for this. That's Donnelly, Ludbrook, Aston, Engelstad, Nagel and Silver, and then less than a second behind them as well is James Bostock. And if we go on board with James, you can see just how colossal this train of race cars is as they go up the hill. That's for 3rd position in the Premier Class, and James is in 10th place at the moment in said class. With just less than 15 minutes on the clock, any of them could take a podium here. It's fantastic, fantastic stuff. We go on board here with Luke Lucchese, currently in 2nd position, with Ryan Ottens very much on his 6. And they're not able to get away from him just yet. They're not able to do anything about him. Part of me wonders whether that's the reason why Lucchese hasn't tried anything on his teammate just yet. He's sort of letting him run his race as the battles are suddenly raging here. Stubbs side by side with Donnelly. Rob Mackay wanted a piece of this as well. 3 wide down the start finish straight they go. And it's Donnelly in the middle. Moves over to the right. Rob Mackay says no, I will be down the inside. Donnelly goes late on the brakes. John Ludbrook wants a bit of that as well. Tristan Engelstad in the mix. Robin Aston on the outside in the Porsche. See if we can go on board with him and keep an eye on everything. Rob Mackay nearly turns in on Ludbrook there. Ludbrook close to the back of the car in front, loses the rear end a little bit. Engelstad goes to the outside. He's the one that stands out in this because he's in the elite class, so he's not fighting these guys for class position points. Mackay still down the inside of Ludbrook, and Ludbrook's turned in on him. There was definitely not the room left there by Ludbrook, I'm afraid, and his teammate as well, Bruno Silva, is slowed down by it all. Oh, that was a huge, huge shame, that was. But we could see that down the inside, Mackay had his nose in there, and Ludbrook, I think, just hoped that he'd backed out of it and still came across the apex. But now it's Nick Stubb that has third position in the Premier class from Stephen Donnelly. Then a big gap back to everybody else. Mackay ahead of the Sumo car of Robin Aston, then Ati Nagel, another one of the RDSA esports machines, with James Bostock in there too, hoping to gain a little bit more ground. There's been another issue for John Ludbrook. He's off again. Back on the track after losing places to Francois Brandet and Jonathan Provost. They make their way back up the hill, and Provost, to be fair, I mean, Brandet doesn't need to defend from Provost. He's actually was trying to move out of the way of Jonathan. Jonathan in the Premier class, Brandet in the Evo class. He's actually cost himself a bit of time there, and I think he's going to let Ludbrook go through as well, is he? Yes, he is. Francois knows that he's got third in his class. He's got a few seconds back to Gareth Newton's Lamborghini. You could hear the Lamborghini making its way through shot as well. But Francois Brandet just wants to keep his class position there. Doesn't want to risk any points or anything. Tristan Engelstad just going past Bruno Silva as well, a bit further down. But still, Tristan de Nobrega leads this race. And the question, I think, soon is going to be for how long, because I wonder whether Luke Lucchese is going to get to a point where he gets impatient and says, you know what, I'm coming through. Because Ryan Ottens, well, he's filling my mirrors right now, and I don't want any part of it, thank you. I do wonder if there's any point of this race where Tristan de Nobrega is going to start pushing and start to get away. Into the final corners they go, with 11.5 minutes left on the clock. A bit further down we've got Gianni Terhar, who has now caught up with Joe Glass. This is for 9th position in the elite class. Right behind Gianni is Matt Hoyland. You can see the Lamborghini in the rear view mirror with the endurance lights glaring away up towards the chicane. Very, very quick chicane through there. You've got to be so careful of the curbs and the bollards. There's a massive curb in the middle as well, a big round thing. It's like driving over a landmine when you hit it. Around that legendary final corner onto the incredible start-finish straight here at the Nurburgring, with that massive tower and the bridge and the huge grandstands as well. Obviously fantastic for frame rate here on iRacing. We've got just over 10 minutes left to go here in round 10. It's been a very interesting race so far, as these guys all get a collective track limits warning. Gianni surrounded by glass set cars at this point, hoping that neither of them can get the better of him. He wants to get ahead of Joe Glass, obviously, but doesn't want Matt Hoyland to suddenly become a part of this as well. Because Matt in the Lamborghini, I mean, listen to the thing. Very menacing to have this chasing you down. Into the hairpin. I think Hoyland's going to be holding back a little bit here and just waiting for one of the guys ahead to maybe make a mistake, but just listen to this thing up the hill. Certainly sounded from there like he was backing out of it almost, as down the inside Gianni Terhar, as we've seen, not scared to make a move. Had a fantastic battle with Hoyland, and look, this is exactly what Hoyland's been waiting for, because he's compromised himself, I was going to say, as Gianni, but I think just squeezed Matt to the apex a tiny little bit there. And Matt, having to take that tighter line and adjust what the car was doing, loses the back end. And that's a huge, huge shame, because that would have been really opportunistic stuff from Hoyland. And I know that Gianni, he's a very fair fighter. He will not be pleased if there was contact there. He'll be annoyed at himself, if anything, if there was a squeeze. But the guys will look back at that and reassess. Joe Shaparo's not got a massive amount to reassess here. He's had a great race so far. Used the pit stops to get ahead of Hussein Sarakadesla. He's gained 9 places from where he started in this race. Starting in 24th position. It's been a great run for the Porsche driver once again for JSD Racing Team. His teammate Stephen Donnelly isn't in any sort of battle at the moment, I was going to say. He's not got Nick Stubb directly in front of him. He's a little bit further up the road. Rob Mackay is the next car back. He's got a bit of company in the form of Robin Aston and Atty Nagel. Marcel Breitenbach has got ahead of John Ludbrook and continues to add a few tenths of a second to that. We're not seeing much of Marcel tonight either. And this gorgeous livery, another very spicy one. Looks like something off Rocket League, doesn't it? As the two of them head down towards the first corner once more. We've had a few cars in the pits, a few cars out of the race, unfortunately. Alex Boniface, Chris Keenan and Scott Kostrick out of the race. I think Tristan Engelstad out of this as well. Actually, he's been sat in the pit lane since his earlier visit onto the grass. Graham Matthew is still running after a considerable amount of time in the pit lane earlier. Same with Malo TA, championship leader in the Evo class. Not having a night to remember here. He's going to lose some serious points to his rivals. As once again back at the front, the RDSA Esports guys sharing the same piece of tarmac. And as you see now, Tristan is, all by the look of it, feeling the pressure slightly. The car moving around a little bit more, dancing around through the corners. And Luke Lucchese is looking to take the lead, I think. I honestly think that he's going to try to get this lead and then break away from Ryan Ottens before Ottens gets a chance to make a move in the final laps of the race, because Ryan is still very close. Matthias Pentila back in this as well now. So it's definitely that Tristan, he's not slow at all, but he's been a bit of a cork in the bottle to these guys in this race. I don't think it's all down to slipstreaming. As they go back up the hill once more. It's Porsche, Ferrari. Great to see the Ferrari knocking on the door of a podium again in the top flight of the championship. Matthias Pentila, the Finnish driver, always very good in this sort of vehicle. He's raced in a couple of championships that I've broadcasted and commentated on before, and he's always been really strong. We've got still battles going on here between Gianni Terhar and Joe Glass. The Porsche duel heads up the hill once again. 5 3/4 minutes left on the clock here. Not long at all. It's only going to be about 3 laps, I think. It's nearly 2 minutes a lap at the moment. Last time the leaders did 1:54.5, so it is about 2 minutes a lap. Robin Aston has got pressure here from Atty Nagel, still with Rob Mackay just in front. As they go back up the Schumacher S's. It's a really scary part of the track actually in these Porsches, because this is where the rear engine nature wants to sort of overtake the front. You can see it feels really stable from a driver's perspective, but any moment the back end of that car could step around on you, and it's a really long, lazy slide as well in the Porsche. We've seen a few of them over the course of the season. It's not really a car that always behaves itself. Ooh, Rob Mackay going a little bit deep into the right-hander there. It's losing a couple of tenths of a second actually to Robin Aston. Rob hoping to get into the top 5 in the later stages of the race. Battle a bit further down here between Gareth Newton and Francois Brandet. Francois again moving over and losing 3rd place in class. I'm not sure if he got a slowdown penalty or something there, but the Lamborghini is through and the Suma GP2 car goes into a podium spot. Gareth now just needs to hold on to this ahead of Francois Brandet. Marcel Breitenbach is back in the pits. Not quite sure why this is. If he stays in this lane, he's going over to the right as if he needs fuel. Might have underfueled it here in this race. There's Tristan Engelstad's Mercedes parked in the pits. And yeah, Breitenbach unfortunately needing fuel. Only a couple of seconds. He builds up the revs already, gets going again. 6.6 seconds worth of fuel. I mean, it sounds amazing, that, doesn't it? Listen to as he gets going out the end of the pits. He's short shifting the thing as well, as he's now staying out of the way of the leaders. Good stuff, good awareness that by Marcel. I was going to say, with that little fuel, they may as well just spat on the car and sent it back out. It just goes to show the tiny margins that the drivers deal with. They all try and fuel as close to the limit as they can to save as much time in the pits as possible. But rounding up the classes then, with just 3 minutes left to go, one more lap after this one, it's Tristan Dinnebrega, who we see here leading Luke Lucchese. He overtook his teammate at the very start of the race and has held it since then, but has certainly been under pressure. Oh no, James Bostock is off the road. James has had a drama there. Gets back on. Ryan Ottens and Matthias Pentila third and fourth, with Christopher Radloff 12 seconds back, but still inside the top 5 in class. Next on the circuit is actually, in terms of a class leader, is Archie Craven, doing a great job in the Evo class. 5.9 seconds clear of Martin Kenyon, who's having a really solid run. He's got Hussein Saraka-Desla just behind him, but that is not for position. Hussein in the Premier class, he's trying to stay ahead of this man right behind them, Nick Stubb. Martin Kenyon gets back at him. He doesn't need to fight like this though, does Martin? He needs to be careful. Oh, dearie me. Whoa, that was really, really close. He doesn't need to be fighting like this though with Hussein, because he's in a different class. He's just going to be losing himself time in the long run. It could cause incident, and it has. It was unnecessary. Completely unnecessary stuff, as Nick Stubb is now going to go through. He's going to take second. Oh, there's contact with Stephen Donnelly as well, as Saraka-Desla joins right into the middle of the road. Luckily, Martin Kenyon hasn't lost a place there, but he didn't need to fight that at all. Really didn't need to get involved in that one. He could have let Saraka-Desla go. Luckily for them, though, Gareth Newton is some 30 seconds behind in class. It's Joe Shapara now with an extended lead in the Premier class. He's now 10 seconds clear of Nick Stubb, who we just saw gain that second place. And Hussein Saraka-Desla, who was just involved in that contact, as Donnelly has a moment. Rob Mackay's going to try and take advantage of that. It's non-stop in this championship, I tell you. Rob heading up the hill now. Trying to get as close. Ooh. Now what was that? Is that a slowdown penalty for Rob Mackay? It certainly looks like it. Got to give time back for abusing track limits, and Robin Aston is now going to go through. Now Rob decides that he's served his penalty though and doesn't give the position up at all. Fair play. But as they cross the line now, well, they have crossed the line. Tristan Dinnebrega is on to the final lap of the race, and Ryan Ottens is suddenly looking very menacing here to try and take a place back. But is Luke Lucchese going to have a go at his teammate as well? We've seen RDSA Esports guys come to blows on the final lap of a race before. Think back to Sebring in Season 4. Only a few corners remain in round 10 of the championship, and Tristan Dinnebrega is very much under pressure. It's going to be at the final corner, if anything, from Luke Lucchese, but this is a brilliant battle for the lead. There's half a second between the top three. Matthias Pentila, unfortunately for him, not quite with these guys, but if it comes to blows, he's going to get a podium. Dinnebrega then round into the chicane for the last time. Lucchese looking prominent. Ottens looking quick as well, actually. Dinnebrega is going to put the car in the middle of the road. Just needs to make sure he doesn't go in too deep. It looks like he's got it. He's held on, but what a race that is. Tristan Dinnebrega wins. Luke Lucchese second. Ryan Ottens third. Matthias Pentila fourth. Very close stuff between our top four finishers. You've got to love that. Christopher Radloff will be next up. Then Luke King. We've got Jean McLuhan just in front of Jean Breitenbach. Can he keep it tidy for the final corner? Can Breitenbach get in front? He will not. He absolutely will not. Then it's going to be Joe Glass, Gianni Terhaar, Peter Black, Matt Hoyland, and Ian Cable. And then this man, Archie Craven. He's been leading the Evo class all night, and he's spent the whole time in front of the Premier Division cars as well. In this Audi, he's showing everybody that it may be the least seen car on the grid. Actually, no, the Mustang is one of the least seen cars on the grid. But it's no slouch, this Audi, in the right hands, and Archie Craven has been making this one work. And what a fantastic night for the GHR K1 Esports driver. Around the final corner, kicks the back end out a little bit, and he celebrates as he crosses the line to win the Evo class. And just behind him, Joe Shapara takes a victory in the Premier class as well. Very well done to him. Nick Stubb, after a tough season so far, he's going to take second in class, ahead of Martin Kenyon, who is second in the Evo class. Hussein Sarakadesla next up, just ahead of Stephen Donnelly come the end of the race. You can imagine that Hussein may have some harsh words for Martin Kenyon after that one, with that battle in. Gareth Newton in the Suma GP2 Lamborghini is going around the final corner, and he completes the podium in the Evo class. Very well done to him. A very, very entertaining race. And Tristan Dinabrega takes another victory for RDSA Esports. These guys looking mighty, mighty terrifying at the top of the championship. We'll have a look at how the results all panned out, and we'll go through it one class at a time, shall we? If I can get the graphic to come up. There you go. Tristan Dinabrega wins with Luke Lucchese in second place, and Ryan Otton's in third, half a second covering the top three. Next up was Matthias Pentilo with Christopher Radloff in 5th and Luke King in 6th place. John McClure in 7th, ahead of John Breitenbach, Joe Glass and Gianni Terhar. Outside of the top 10 we had Peter Black and Matt Hoyland, with Ian Cable and Tristan Engelstad not finishing the race. Looking at the Premier class, it was Joe Shapara taking a 9-second victory from Nick Stubb, with Hussein Sarakadesla in 3rd place. Stephen Donnelly next up, ahead of Bruno Silva, who completes the top 5, and Rob Mackay in 6th. Once again, thanks to Rob for sending us the replay file for tonight. Ati Nagel was next up, ahead of Jonathan Provost, who was in the walls as well, with Robin Aston 9th and John Ludbrook in 10th. John was only just ahead of James Bostock, and then the cars that were a lap down or more were Matthew Jones, Marcel Breitenbach, Russell Jakes and Scott Kostrick. And finally, looking at the Evo class, it was a win for Archie Craven by 14.6 seconds over Martin Kenyon. Gareth Newton completing the podium with no Porsches on the podium this time. Francois Brandet was in 4th place ahead of Dennis Collar, and then the drivers that were one lap down or more were James Howarth, Sean Clark, Danny Weir, Ashley Brooks, Mallow TA and Graham Matthew, with Alex Boniface and Chris Keenan not finishing the race. That is unfortunately all we've got time for today, though, here on Chaz Draycott Media, everybody. Of course, as this is an as-live broadcast, there are no interviews to be done, but I really hope you've enjoyed the action from this one, round 10 of the championship. Once again, thank you to the championship sponsors, Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, GitGud Racing and AB Designs, and thanks again to everybody at Evolution Sim Racing for being so patient and, of course, accommodating for us to do the broadcast like this, and I hope you all enjoy watching it. Thank you once again, and we will see you, well, in the coming days actually, as we head to the next round of the championship at Mugello, where we have 2 30-minute races there with wet to dry conditions. Wet to dry conditions, I just said. It's going to be a belter, but thanks once again from me, Chaz Draycott. Thanks also on behalf of Ed May. Apologies that he couldn't be here today, but we'll see you on Thursday, everybody. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you again soon.
4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition. And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you've been loved and a terrific go out. Ben Gregory now, I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GitGudRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together.